a number is increased by 25% and the resulting number is then decreased by 20%, the final number is what percent of the original number? What to do here? Try an example number. Something easy to work with, such as 100. So we need to increase that by 25%. 25% of 100 is 25. So if you increase that by 25%, you're adding 25 onto 100, that is 125. The resulting number is then decreased by 20%. So take that 125 and decrease it by 20%. Find 20% of 125, multiply 125 by 0.2. So 125 times 0.2, that is 25. So we're going to decrease that 125 by 25. If you do that, 125 minus 25 is 100. The question is, the final number is what percent of the original number? So 100 is what percent of 100? 100 is 100% of 100. Letter C. Two numbers are reciprocals if their product is equal to 1. If x and y are reciprocals and x is greater than 1, then y must be which of these? Well, if their product is equal to 1, y can't be less than negative 1. That product would produce a negative with x. Between 0 and negative 1 still falls into that negative category. If x is greater than 1 and y is between 0 and negative 1, their product is not going to be 1. It could possibly be negative. If y was equal to 0, the reciprocal of 0 is undefined. So the product would create a number which is undefined, so that one's thrown out. Letter K here, greater than 1. If x and y are reciprocals, they cannot both be greater than 1. Take, for example, 3. 3 is greater than 1. But the reciprocal of that is 1/3, which is less than 1. So the correct answer here is J. Y must be between 0 and 1. The number line graph below is the graph of which of the following inequalities. Notice you have a closed circle on negative 1 with the arrow going to the left, closed circle on 3 with the arrow going to the right. Now, closed circle means that the value of x contains that negative 1, and the value of x contains that 3. If it was an open circle, that means the value of x would not contain those numbers. So with the closed circle on negative 1 and the arrow going to the left, x would be less than or equal to negative 1. The value of x is anything less than negative 1. It could also be negative 1. If you have a closed circle on 3 with the arrow going to the right, the value of x is greater than or equal to 3. X is any number on that line, including the 3. So with x being less than or equal to negative 1, x being greater than or equal to 3, you're looking for the answer choice that matches that, but none of them do. Unless you take these and flip them around. X is less than or equal to negative 1. That's the same thing as negative 1 is greater than or equal to x. Just flip that whole thing around. X is greater than or equal to 3. Flip that around. 3 is less than or equal to x. Now, if you look at the answer choice, looking for these two, that's going to match letter D. Negative 1 is greater than or equal to x, or 3 is less than or equal to x. Letter D. All of the following graphs have equal scales on the axes. One of the graphs shows only points for which the y-coordinate is 1 less than the square of the x-coordinate. Which one is it? So with the y-coordinate being 1 less than the square of the x-coordinate, that means y equals x squared minus 1. So one of those graphs matches this equation. Now that is a quadratic equation. If you know anything about quadratic equations, the graph of it will be a parabola. That's a U-shaped graph, either opening up or down. So with it being a parabola opening up or down, you can throw f out, you can throw g out. Now, does this open up or down? Then you look at the x squared term. The coefficient of the x squared is positive. That means the parabola will open upwards. So it would be a U-shaped graph opening upwards. Letter K here is a U-shaped graph, but it opens downward. So you can throw k out. It's not f, g, nor is it k. J is a U-shaped graph opening upward, and so is H. H would be a U-shaped graph opening upward. So what's the difference between the two? Well, another thing you can look at is that with parabolas, at the x-intercept, the value of y is 0. So if you set y equal to 0 there, you can figure out what the x-intercept is. So replace the y with 0. You have 0 equals x squared minus 1. Then solve that for x. Add 1 to both sides. You have x squared equals 1. Then take the square root of each side. X would equal 1 or negative 1. So you're looking for the parabola that has x-intercepts of 1 and also negative 1. If you look closer at this one, you can see that the x-intercept there, in fact, it appears there is no x-intercept, is not going to be 1 or negative 1. But up here, J, it appears the x-intercepts will be 1 and also -1. So looking for the one with x-intercepts of 1 and -1, a parabola that opens upward, that is letter J. In teaching a lesson on the concept of thirds, Miss Chu uses a divide and set aside procedure. She starts with a certain number of colored discs, divides them into 3 equal groups, and sets one group aside to illustrate 1/3. She repeats the procedure by taking the discs she had not set aside, dividing them into 3 equal groups, and setting one of these groups aside. If Ms. Chu wants to be able to complete the divide and set aside procedure at least 4 times without breaking any of the discs, which of the following is the minimum number of colored discs she can start with? So she wants to do this divide and set aside procedure. She wants to do this 4 times. So she wants to divide by 3, set one group aside at least 4 times. I would go through and I'd eliminate the answers, starting with the first one, 12. If you divide 12 by 3, it's 4, so you're setting 4 aside. Now you're dividing 8 by 3, but that's not going to happen because 8 is not divisible by 3. So answer A is out of the picture. Move on to the next one, 15. Divide 15 by 3 is 5, so you're setting 5 aside. Now you're dividing 10 by 3. It's not going to happen. 10 is not divisible by 3, so 15 is not going to work. Try 27. 27 divided by 3 is 9. Setting 9 aside makes 18. 18 divided by 3 is 6. Now you're setting 6 aside. So you're looking at 12 divided by 3, which is 4. Still working. So far, so good. Set 4 aside. You're dividing 8 by 3, but that's a problem because just like back here, 8 is not divisible by 3. So move on to the next one, 54. Divide 54 by 3 is 18. Set 18 aside. Now you're dividing 36 by 3 is 12. Set 12 aside. You're looking at 24 divided by 3. Still working. That's 8. Set 8 aside. Now you're dividing 16 by 3. But that's a problem because 16 is not divisible by 3. So 54 is out. Has to be 81. Here's how. 81 divided by 3 is 27. So set 27 aside. Now you're dividing 54 by 3. That is 18. Set 18 aside. You're looking at 36 divided by 3. That is 12. Set 12 aside. 24 divided by 3 is 8. That works 4 times. And that means letter E, 81, is the correct answer. Which of the following is true for all consecutive integers m and n such that m is less than n? Consecutive integers are integers in a row. In other words, 5, 6, 7, those are consecutive integers. So m needs to be less than n. Well, what I would do is think of examples that prove each of these wrong. For the first one, if m is odd, that wouldn't be true if m is 4 and n is 5. Those are consecutive integers where m is less than n. So m being 4 and n being 5, that proves letter F wrong. Letter G, n is odd. It's not true if m is 5 and n is 6, because right there, n is an even number. N minus m is even, so try to think of an example that proves that wrong. If n is 6 and m is 5, n minus m, or 6 minus 5, would be 1. That's an odd number, not even, so throw that one out. And for letter K, m squared plus n squared is even. That wouldn't be true if m is 4 and n is 5. It'd be 16 plus 25. That's 31. That's an odd number, so that proves that wrong. The only answer left is letter J. A function p is defined as follows. For when x is greater than 0, p of x equals x to the 5th plus x to the 4th minus 36x minus 36. And when x is less than 0, p of x equals negative x to the 5th plus x to the 4th plus 36x minus 36. This is also called a piecewise function. What is the value of p of -1? So right there, the value of x is -1. You're going to use the second one, where x is less than 0, because -1 is less than 0. That fits this second one. So we're going to substitute that -1 in for x into this negative x to the 5th plus x to the 4th plus 36x minus 36. So in that, just replace the x with -1 and work through that. You're taking the negative of -1 to the 5th plus -1 to the 4th plus 36 times -1 minus 36. Watch your signs and exponents. -1 to the 5th power is -1. Do the exponents first. -1 to the 4th power is +1. Take the negative of a -1, that's a +1. Still have +1 minus 36 minus 36. And that is going to turn out to be letter A, -70. For a project in home economics class, Kirk is making a tablecloth for a circular table 3 feet in diameter. The finished tablecloth needs to hang down 5 inches over the edge of the table all the way around. To finish the edge of the tablecloth, Kirk will fold under and sew down 1 inch of the material all around the edge. Kirk is going to use a single piece of rectangular fabric that is 60 inches wide. What is the shortest length of fabric in inches Kurt could use to make the tablecloth without putting any separate pieces of fabric together? Well, you have different measurements here being talked about. You have feet and inches. So you want to get all those on the same page. In other words, change the 3 feet to inches. 3 feet is 36 inches. It says a circular table 3 feet in diameter. So you have a circular table with a diameter of 3 feet, or in other words, 36 inches. Then it says the tablecloth needs to hang down 5 inches over the edge. That's all the way around, not just on one part of it. So 5 inches all the way around, and then sewn down 1 inch all the way around. So you're sewing down 1 inch all the way around. What is the shortest length of fabric in inches Kurt could use to make the tablecloth without sewing or putting any separate pieces together? Now, a lot of people want to say the answer to this is 42, but they're not looking at the whole tablecloth. You have 1 plus 5 plus 36 plus 5 plus 1. You need to add all of those together, not just the 1, 5, and 36. Add all of those together all the way across the table and the tablecloth, and that is going to add up to be 48. 48 inches, letter K is the correct answer.